slide outlines these three key trends. While others are important, this is what I would recommend. Realign your L&D strategy, co-design program and initiatives, and re-envision our learning approaches. I'm going to deep dive into each one of them with some examples and the work that I'm currently doing in my current role or have done with past organizations. So let's deep dive into the first, which is realign your L&D strategy. The first that comes to my mind is context. Context with rigor. Aligning your L&D strategy to the business context is extremely, extremely important. I'm sure most of you are either doing this or have heard about it. In our evolving environment, which is constantly changing, while you may have a 2-year, 3-year L&D strategy, it is important to have a quarterly look at it and see where are the gaps, what does the future require, how are our business models changing, teams shaping up, right? So take the risk, plan for it, and anticipate the future when we talk about aligning this to the context. The second one, and if we click on it, is the skills aspect. So most of organizations have a competency framework. The competency framework to me is a bit outdated in the world that we're leading today. If you look at the work, the Institute for the Future, it claims that 86% of jobs that will exist in 2030 have not been invented yet. The question that I ask professionals is, then how do you build a framework that would help you align and create a future-ready workforce? I'm currently leading talent learning and development for Providence, which is a US healthcare firm that treated the first COVID patient and is about 165 years old. And including with the likes of Microsoft, we're doing away with a leadership competency framework. What we're doing is identifying what we call leadership principles, which are largely skills, whether it's growth mindset, compassion, collaboration, as principles that we would like to imbibe in our workforce. And this helps us in continuously evolving, as well as these are skills that are imperative to the workforce at any time and space. The third, if you click on it, John, the third one is preparing your L&D strategy in Asia for global and local. It's very, very imperative in Asia that we start focusing in, and given the self-sufficient economies, that we start focusing on building local talent. There has been a trend in the past to import a large part of senior leadership talent from our Western countries. But I think there is an enough impetus to build and create a talent pool for building our own future talent from our own countries. At the same time, given our global travels and given our global connections, we need to have global mindset as a very integral part of our L&D strategy. How do we build that exposure to our people to operate in this new environment? So the last prevalent one is technology. Technology using platforms, personal learning clouds, etc., has to be an integrated part of our strategy. We have to have the financial backing to be able to scale learning using technology. With this, let's look at our second pillar. If we can go to the next slide. Co-design programs and initiatives. I really like this quote by Dr. Prabhjot Singh. We spend a lot of time designing the bridge, but not enough time thinking about the people who are crossing it. In my time, in my consulting work, I have learned about using either design thinking or appreciative inquiry in the work that I do. Let me illustrate this with an example. For a large automotive company that was deploying Salesforce and its various components like Salesforce Analytics, Marketing Cloud, for over 40,000 employees, including dealers, distribution dealers, call centers, and their corporate salespeople. At every stage, as I was responsible when I worked with PwC to design the training strategy, we got these stakeholders into the room and thought about what will they require, empathize with their pains, their learning needs. Pandemic changed the way we wanted to learn. How could we make that training more virtual, more handy, leverage micro learning? It's also important to be agile and do quick check-ins while co-designing programs. So yes, you've made a large plan, but this plan can keep changing depending on the new things that have come. So partnership with the people who are going to go through that training, the stakeholders that will be impacted by the learning, is very important for every program or initiative that you design. The last pillar that we're going to look at, and if we move to the next slide, is how do I re-envision the learning approaches? So adapted from Josh Bersin, who talks about the 4E model of learning. I've made a 5E model to ensure that there is a continuous learning and lifelong learning as a philosophy behind our learning approach. There are various modes of development that can work. And obviously, there is no one size fit all for any size or the organization that is. But let me quickly explain to you what this is. So evaluation, which is the first E, is all about always having some sort of a data survey to understand before we jump into designing methodologies or programs as to what are the skills that we're looking at, what kind of learning approach will work, and what really is the outcome. Evaluation could be in the form of survey, interview, 360-degree feedback, personality. Data is very, very important, not just for the organization, but for the workforce itself. People understand data, and data serves as a mirror to see and gives us a strong reason to understand why we need to develop. The second, that the 70-20-10 principle also that we heavily invest into is education. Now, education could be both in the form of formal learning classroom environments or the virtual environment, classroom sessions, etc., that we would land up taking, or a degree that we invest into. This is clearly changing. The pandemic has shown us the value that virtual learning can add. At the same time, has created a huge importance for leveraging the work time of an people in the classroom. I would say that the classroom time is to be used to share experiences, apply what you're learning, practice some skills, and really build and bond and connect with each other, with the cohort that's there. The third E is the experience. This typically comprises the 70% that we typically miss out. And a lot of studies have shown why learning and development fails is because of the lack of application of learning and the environment created by L&D functions and strategies to help employees or people apply their learnings. We need to curate experiences for them, whether it's an on-the-job rotation, assignments that we give, projects that they can work on. It's very important to curate it, and curate it not only for the skills that we want to develop for their current role, but also anticipate how the role is going to change in the future and prepare them for that. The fourth E is nothing else but exposure. This is the 20% of our 70-20-10 principle, which is, can we expose them to different perspectives, different people from different industries, coaches, mentors, right? Perspective seminars can we have on a regular basis to ignite people's thinking, get them beyond their box and make them think beyond. And the last E, which really is enrichment and important for continuous learning, is leveraging technology, platforms like Degreed or an Edcast to talk about podcast, small videos, interviews, articles that are constantly available for learners to engage in continuous learning.